Do not use Zoom unless you understand these 3 rules. Here are the 3 rules, but before we go through them in detail, I first need to go over the control panels which you'll use to enforce these rules. First menu options with which you need to be familiar is accessed from your Zoom scheduling extension we've added to Google Chrome. You can get to that right here. Second options panel with which you need to be familiar to be a good host is right here inside the Zoom meeting client, and that's accessing your PMI settings. And finally, the third options menu that you also need to be familiar with is in the participants list while hosting a meeting. You can toggle it here, and it has a variety of options that you can select. You can also hover over attendees and see that here. And there's options with how you can manage your participants. So now let's see what options we need to check and enforce on these 3 control panels we just reviewed. The first rule is that you must use a waiting room. From your Zoom scheduling extension, from hitting the settings here, you just check this box, enable waiting room. PMI settings in the Zoom client, the checkbox is right here. You need to also enable waiting room. And while hosting a meeting, you will see incoming participants waiting to be admitted into your meeting. They will queue up here. You can bulk admit a group of people or admit them one at a time as you recognize their names. Even though we are required to have passwords, those passwords can be leaked and shared. Now, even if someone were to obtain your password, if you use the same password frequently, or were to publish that password, you still have to manually approve any person seeking to join your meeting. If for some reason you did not have the Manage Participants window open, which you should always have open, but let's imagine you didn't, you will still see an alert here notifying you when someone is waiting to be admitted. The next rule is that you should start muted and all of your guests should start muted. This includes video. You can start with video off and mute your participants upon entry. That means that students, before they enable their microphone and enable their camera, they get an opportunity to think, am I suitably dressed? Is my environment quiet enough for me to participate? It gives them a chance and a layer of liability that they are committing to assuming the responsibility to share this media in the meeting room. Zoom client window, that option is also here, that you can start with video off for you and their participants and mute participants upon entry. From the participants panel here, you can also disable a participant's video or audio. And this brings us to our third rule, which is to enforce decorum. If a user is loud, if their video is inappropriate, if their name is inappropriate, if at all their behavior is not appealing to our best professional standards, then they should be either silenced or removed from the session promptly. In best case scenario, this would be done out loud. I am muting you because there is a lot of background sound, or I am disabling your video because I don't find your attire appropriate. Say it out loud, enforce your rules, and keep the climate professional. Those are your basic expectations in order to host one of these meetings. If there are a few extras that I'd like to also discuss now. Options are set on both the Zoom scheduler in Chrome as well as inside the Zoom client here. In advanced options, never check enable join before host. That gives an unregulated, unmonitored space where your participants could be subject to harassment and other unwanted experiences. The other thing is always check automatically record this meeting on the local computer. Assume a good deal of responsibility by recording the session. It is incumbent upon you to manage that file well to protect your participants' privacy. It is, however, a critical step in order for you to protect yourself. Should there be an incident, you would like to have evidence, materials, so that we can respond to it professionally and say, here is in detail what happened. And furthermore, it's also just a great convenience if someone is not able to attend the meeting. You can upload it to Google Drive, share it with that specific person. It won't take up space on your computer if it's off your computer and onto Google Drive. These rules and a lot more instruction and guidance are available on Gilmore.online. Please be familiar with this guidebook.